All right, guys, so in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Big 6 controller. This is by Retrobit. This is the 2.4 gigahertz wireless arcade pad. This works on your Sega Genesis, PC, Mac, Switch, and other USB-enabled devices. Now, when this was first announced, guys, I was stoked because this combines the world of the original 6-button controller and the original 3-button controller. On the back here, there's a little bit of description of what the controller is all about, and there is a USB Type-C charging cable that comes in the box, and it does have a 500 milliamp battery, so that is really cool. Let's crack this thing open and just see what is inside the box here. Really nice packaging. I love the look of this cardboard box that comes with this controller. It's really neat. It's really simple, but it looks really slick. However, the Retrobit 8-button controller does come in a really nice hard shell, like clam case, like a hard shell case that's see-through. Really neat because, I mean, I've been putting mine in there for quite some time and it has no damage whatsoever. But this will work just fine. Now, as you can see here is the 6-button Big 6 controller. Comes with your 2 dongles. Now, these 2 dongles that come in this package are the version 2 dongles. But let's take a look at the controller here. Really nice form factor. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing. I wish Sega would have done this from the get-go. But anyways, there is your USB Type-C charging port and light on there, indicating light that it is connected. You have your home button and also your select button. And on the top there was L and R buttons on the top there. But yeah, the D-pad feels really nice. The start button is recessed in the controller a little bit, but this feels just like a 6-button controller as far as the button presses go. I mean, it just feels really nice. They look just like the original buttons that came on the original 6-button. But yeah, what you get here in the package, you get the instruction manual. As you can see here, here's the version 2 dongle that comes. These work a lot better than the original dongles do. They connect a lot easier and a lot faster. So here is your Sega Genesis one that will go in your original Sega Genesis consoles. It's really neat. I'm so giddy about that because I'm a total 90s kid, and having this kind of a wireless controller back in the days would have been amazing. So anyways, and then you get your USB Type-C charge cable there. Yeah, really nice cable. And then a thank you card from Retrobit. Thank you for your purchase. They always throw these in when you buy a product from them. That's really nice of them to do. And they say, go follow us on our social media. But anyways, let's get this stuff aside and let's compare some of these controllers together. Now, as you can see here, the form factor of this is like the original 3-button, right? You got about the same size. However, it is a little bit smaller, just a tiny bit smaller. I can notice it because I've held the 3-button in my hands hundreds, if not thousands of times, so I can tell there's a little bit of a difference, but it is bigger, which is nice, and because I have bigger hands, I prefer the bigger size. And as you can see here, the buttons are a little bit smaller than the original 3 buttons. Your A, B, and C, those ones are just a tad bit smaller. They're more like the size of the 6-button controller, which is totally fine because this is one of the best Sega Genesis controllers ever made, was this 6-button controller. This just blew everybody away back in the 90s playing Street Fighter Champion Edition. With this 6-button controller was something you must have. I mean, you just had to have this controller with your Street Fighter game. And now look at it, boom, combining both of these worlds together, the size of the original and all these buttons. Man, I don't know about you guys, but this is the perfect Sega Genesis controller in my opinion. The weight of it feels nice. It's got some heft to it. But yeah, like I was saying, guys, these buttons are like the 6-button controller. They're about the same size. The gray ones and those black ones are about the same size. Like I said, guys, you can use it on your Sega Genesis Mini and your Mini 2. We will not be demoing that today. We're going to take a look at it playing on the Switch. But let's open up one of the other Retrobit controllers because I want to take a look at just how the buttons feel on this other. It's the 8-button controller by Retrobit, but it resembles the 6-button controller, but it does have 2 shoulder buttons on top, so they end up calling it the 8-button. But yeah, those buttons feel almost identical, So as you can see here is an original 6-button next to the Retrobit one, and they're almost 1-to-1. I mean, it's really nice. It's really awesome that they made that 6-button controller. However, I prefer this bigger size. I just do. I like the bigger size controller because I have bigger hands, and it feels more comfortable. It really does. But as you can see here, those buttons are exactly the same. It's like they took those buttons out and put them in the Big Six. So yeah, nice high quality buttons. They feel really good. They feel really clicky. That D-pad feels identical to an original Sega Genesis controller, and I'm really digging that because that's one of my favorite D-pads. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I don't like about the Big Six is probably that reset start button. I wish they would have put it, you know, maybe in the middle of the controller. I think that would have been cool, just like the 6-button one. But that's okay. I guess that'll be just fine. At least I won't accidentally hit it, which is kind of cool. But there is wired Big Six controllers as well. Those are easier to get. They are. There's one that are types USB enabled and also Sega Genesis style ones. So there's 2 different styles of them. But let's go ahead and plug the sucker into a Nintendo Switch and do a little bit of game demo with this. Now, as you can see here, I'm using my Nintendo Switch in handheld mode or tabletop mode, but I have to use this Samsung dongle that came with my phone in order to use the Retrobit adapter on my Nintendo Switch this way. That's why I can show you guys. But all you got to do, plug it into your Nintendo Switch and hold down that button on the back until the red light starts flashing, and then hit start on your controller, and bam, it worked right away. It was super easy to connect. I mean, it was seamless. It was just seconds, and I was connected to it. So I really appreciate that. Ideally, this is probably the best way to use this controller is probably in docked mode, I would say, rather than tabletop mode like this, because you have to use some sort of stand because the extension is pretty long. Now, Nintendo does offer a Bluetooth Sega Genesis 3-button controller on their website. I think they're $49.99, so $50 for that controller is a lot of money in my opinion for only a 3-button. So I would actually recommend going with the Retrobit route and getting this Big Six controller. Now, they are a little bit harder to find now. I will leave a link down in the description where you can find the eBay seller. I think he's selling them for $35.99, and that is before tax. So I paid like $38 and some change, and it was free shipping. So I will leave a link down to his eBay page. I have no affiliation with the guy. I have no clue. I've never ordered from him before. He does have a ton of Retrobit controllers on his eBay, and he did have, well, it looked like quite a few of these. So, but I could not find them on Amazon. They were sold out and on Retrobit's website as well. But also, one thing to keep in mind, guys, is that if you want to go back to the game selection or rewind a game in the Sega Genesis Nintendo Switch Online games, you're going to have to use the Z button and the C button at the same time. Now, I was having a hard time figuring out, I was like, why aren't the triggers working on top or the L and R buttons? But it's the Z and the C, and I totally spaced that and forgot. It probably says it in the manual, but just keep that in mind. Z and C, which gets you back to the game selection. And also, if you hold it down for a little bit longer, then you can rewind the game and do a little bit of cheating or whatever you want to do. Now, I know I didn't demo any of the games that utilize the 6-button controller because the Nintendo Switch Online service, I believe, only has the one game, which is Virtual Fighter 2 on there, and I just don't play that game because I think it's absolutely horrendous. I'd much rather play the one on the Sega Saturn, But you know what? I can play Street Fighter Championship Edition on my Sega Genesis. I do have a physical cart with this controller because it plugs right in to an original Sega Genesis. So that's really cool. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And give this video a thumbs up and share it with a buddy who might be thinking about getting a Big Six controller. I think you're going to be really impressed if you guys do pick up one of these controllers. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Bye.